Sports games? Aw, man! As the Major League Baseball season is set to begin here in the early days of spring, and the NES has a ton of baseball games on it, I figured, what a better time for a sports dive? Hey, where did y'all go? Come back, I just wanted to tell you guys about Bases Loaded. You have 12 teams to choose from in Bases Loaded, but none are real-deal MLB teams. There are teams from Philly, LA, and New York as you would expect, but also Utah, Hawaii, and of course, Omaha? You select between the teams by only first initial, so if you didn't have the manual, there is no indication of what team you're choosing. The presentation isn't bad considering this is the NES in 1987. There is an angled view of the pitcher and catcher from behind the pitcher, so even when batting, this is your view. This view remains consistent throughout the series. As the pitcher, you can affect the speed of the pitch by pressing up for fast, right for medium, and down for slow. After you pitch, you can affect the direction of the pitch a little using the D-pad. As the batter, you have to use the directional buttons and the swing button to match the location and timing of the ball to get a hit. The good thing is the catcher's mitt tracks the ball, cluing you in on where the pitch is going. It won't help you with timing, but placement for sure. It's almost cheating, but due to the angle of the pitch, it would otherwise be very difficult to know where to swing, so I'll take it. Because of the mitt, you also know when to take a ball. In most baseball games, I find myself swinging at everything, but here I have a good indication of when the ball is outside the strike zone. Pro tip though, the strike zone is high in Bases Loaded. A hit zooms out the field, giving players the opportunity to track the ball and make a play, but it's tough. Something about the speed of the ball and the level of zoom make fielding difficult here and throughout the series. It's intuitive enough though. After you gather the ball, you use the D-pad to select the base you want to throw it to, and A to throw it. There's not a lot of pizzazz to the game, but it does have a little fun with home runs as the Jumbotron zooms in on the sad pitcher as the runner trots the bases celebrating behind them. An annoying part of the game is that it has to show the catcher returning the ball to the pitcher after every pitch. It's so slow. I appreciate the attempt at realism here, but we get it. We know the pitcher gets the ball back. Bases Loaded is an okay baseball experience, certainly eye-catching for its time, but ultimately outdone by its successors, like for instance.
Introducing Bases Loaded 2 second season. This is the Major League action you've been waiting for. So authentic, you have to manage your teams based on your player's condition. So real, it puts you right in the game. Oh, you're out!
He was out.
Bases Loaded 2 second season for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And now, take the excitement on the road with Bases Loaded for the Nintendo Game Boy from Jalico. Live action that never ends.
As far as a sheer upgrade, Bases Loaded 2's second season isn't much of one. Everything is largely the same except for a few little things. The most notable one is probably the fielding, and I personally think it took a turn for the worse. Instead of zooming out to the diamond in a straight-ahead view, it does this weird sideways shot which is disorienting. Not to mention, the hits seem to travel faster, and getting your players in position is even more tricky. Controlling the fielders seem to control all of them at once, so if you back up a second baseman for a shallow fly ball and then decide it's too deep, your right fielder is already in the grandstand. Aside from that, the hitting and pitching is largely the same, and you still pick teams the same way, by letter, which is kind of lame. Would be nice to have at least a color palette or logo to choose from, but it's the same 12 teams from before. The home run animation is still the same, and there's really no additional frills. The game does flow a little faster though, thankfully. It could be that the pitch animation is a little quicker, and that silly toss from the catcher back to the pitcher is still here, but it's a few milliseconds quicker too, I think. Overall, better than the first, but not by much. This time around, the game was endorsed by a player who would become a Hall of Famer in 2005, Chicago Cubs' Ryan Sandberg. That's Ryan, not Ryan. I always confused that as a kid. Even though there is a pro endorsing the game, there are still no pros in the game. Hence the clever wording of the title, Ryan Sandberg plays Bases Loaded 3. They say nothing about him or his friends being in it, so. And the endorsement means very little. He's not mentioned on the title screen or anywhere else. It was just an attempt to sell the game, but even that play is a little weird, as even though Sandberg would become a Hall of Famer, he wasn't exactly the biggest superstar with a household name. Anyway, Bases Loaded 3 signifies the most drastic shift in the series. There are more colors used, and the uniforms have elements of shading. The Team Select screen has logos now, but it's the same number of non-MLB teams, but the game only features 3 different stadiums. We have 2 new modes now though, Watch and Edit. Watch allows you to literally watch the computer play itself, just like you've always wanted. Edit is kind of neat though. As the game doesn't have official MLB players, this would give you the opportunity to rename and change the stats of the game's rosters to reflect an official team if you wanted to. Or you can input your friends and family, it's up to you. Just know the game isn't going to save any of this stuff. For the 3rd straight game, the fielding portion is once again from a different perspective, this time upside down, why not? After playing the first 2, this is especially disorienting as up is now home and down is now second base. Fielding is as annoying as ever. I lost my entire outfield for a few seconds a couple times. And if you catch the ball and want to just run to a base, you have to tap B to put the fielder into run mode, otherwise you'll just stand there holding the baseball like an idiot. Not sure why you just can't use the D-pad to run without an extra button press, but oh well. Trying to position your outfielders to field the ball is as much of a gamble as actually hitting the ball to begin with. Now you can position your batter in the batter's box prior to the pitch, which seems neat, but that also means that you can't really aim your swing, and the catcher's mitt no longer tips you to the pitcher's location. So you'll just be doing your best to determine if the pitch will be in the strike zone, and then swinging. I end up swinging in almost everything. And missing. The swing animation takes time too, so you'll want to swing earlier than you think. It makes batting a little clunky and slow and generally unfun. Pitching is faster now though, and even the toss back to the pitcher is faster, but why is it still here anyway? Home runs are celebrated a little differently, no more Jumbotron with depressed pitchers, but still something at least. Finally, the game has an overall rating system. It evidently judges every little thing you do. It's explained in the first screen of the game once you begin play. I didn't dig into it too much, but you're judged if you make fielding errors, throwing to the wrong base, getting caught stealing, and more. You advance levels the better you do, with the ultimate goal to defeat a level 5 team. The game puts more reward on the winning its rating system than the pennant. Alright, well, I hope your bases aren't loaded just yet because we have one more. Bases Loaded 4 is very similar to its predecessor, but with a few changes and upgrades. Edit mode is unfortunately gone, but watch mode is still here, if you're into that. You can start a regular season complete with a password system for saving your progress. The season has 130 games, and if you win 70, it automatically sends you to the playoffs, so that's neat. On the flip side, if you lose 61 games, the season ends as you're mathematically out of the playoff race. You can select teams now with logos, and you can see the uniform colors at the top, finally. Once again, there are 12 unlicensed baseball teams to choose from with no actual players represented. In general, the game plays faster all the way around. The pitches are faster, the swings are faster, the fielding is faster, which to me made this game a little harder. Speeding up the game is welcome, but it comes at the cost of not being able to react in time to it. After some practice, you will get better, but the game does keep you on your toes. That toss back to the pitcher is still here though. Fielding is still aggravating, but you can jump and dive after balls a little easier. The fielding perspective is still upside down like Bases Loaded 3, but there is a map of your team when a ball is in play, and it helps some, but you find yourself staring at the map instead of the field and missing things. It's so zoomed in that a quick hit is nearly impossible to field properly. Pitchers can choose between 9 pitches, including a slider, curveball, off-speed pitch, sinker, and more, and pitch direction can be affected more significantly by tapping the A button during the throw. Batting has been dumbed down even more though. You can move more in the batter's box, but you can only swing high and low, and once again the mitt doesn't tip you to the pitch location, so if you're like me, it's just swing at everything and hope for the best. Bases Loaded 4 is technically the best in the series, more colors, more options, and faster gameplay, but that doesn't mean it's everyone's favorite. Well, that does it for the Bases Loaded games on the NES, and completes the first part of the NES baseball video series on this channel. Part 2 will come a little later down the road. Of these 4 games, I think I prefer the 4th one overall, but it's close. They all have their issues, but the speed of Bases Loaded 4 is a better feel. If you're interested in other games in this series, there was a port to the Game Boy for the first Bases Loaded. Super Bases Loaded on the Super Nintendo is essentially an upgrade of Bases Loaded 3 for the NES. The game was followed by Super Bases Loaded 2 and Super Bases Loaded 3. Alright, that's all for this time. Play ball, and thanks for watching.